It's James Murray. We're in the newsroom with Minister Bill Mauro, and we're talking about the budget here in Politics 2.0 at Net Newsletter. Bill, welcome.
James, thanks for having me today. I appreciate being here.
We have a lot of moving parts in this budget. What are the highlights that our readers and viewers need to know?
Well, after the budget, we did a teletown hall. James in Thunder Bay, I think we touched about 6,000 people through a phone call. I'm not sure how many ended up being on the line, but the way I described it for people is that I think it's a very comprehensive budget. It's far-reaching. I think that a lot of people will be able to find themselves in this particular document. There are policy initiatives that, if you're a senior, if you're interested in the hospital sector, if you're struggling with mental health, child care, there is a lot in there that I think people will see themselves reflected in, and I describe it as a very comprehensive budget.
So let's break it down by sector. You're a senior. What is there for the senior here?
Well, there's two or three things. I think part of what was out before budget was the drug plan for seniors now being free. I think that begins in 2019. I forget the date for certain, but the drug plan is there, the dental plan is coming, and a new program that is interesting is called the Healthy Home Grant for Seniors, or something like that. That's a $750 a year grant to seniors for a variety of pieces that would help to keep a senior in their own home. The program is going to go out for consultation. It will be developed over the next period of time, and so what will be included and eligible for that $750 is yet to be determined. But on the phone call I was referencing, I was receiving some criticism from a senior about the program. He says, "I don't need the money," and I said, "Well, that's fine, but there are many seniors that do," and he saw it as not the best expense for seniors. And I said, "Well, think about it this way. The goal is to keep people in their homes as long as we can. People prefer to be in their homes. People are healthier when they live in their own homes. And if you can keep a senior or a senior couple in their own home, it's actually a good investment of provincial tax dollars because it is much cheaper as a government, as a province, for people to be in their own home than it would be if they had to go into a supportive housing unit, a long-term care home, or eventually perhaps an acute care bed in a hospital." So I see it as a wise investment.
Okay. Now, families. Everybody with a family, what does the budget mean for them?
Well, I think again, the drug plan, the dental plan, and the child care plans that are contained in the budget, I think that people are going to really see themselves reflected in. The 25 and under for the free drug costs, of course, a piece that we announced earlier, the free tuition. I think this year it was 210,000 or more young adults who were receiving free post-secondary education at a college or a university in Ontario. All of these pieces, of course, make it more affordable for families who would oftentimes be paying those tuition costs. So whether it's tuition, whether it's drugs, all of the parents who are in that, pick an age, 25 to 55 to 60, this will provide some significant relief for them.
As a young person, now there's a little bit of there's free daycare, for example, for young families, which I think would allow a single mom either to return to work or to go to school.
Yeah.
That'll help with young kids as well.
Yeah. The program is, we had committed to 100,000 new spaces, and that program is going to roll out in the near future, I think beginning at 2.5 years of age, bridging out to kindergarten. And so there's that gap in there that I'm told would save the average family in Ontario about $17,000 per year per child. So again, if you are a young family, going back to your previous question about what's in there for families, middle income earners, this is huge. If you have a young family, on top of tuition for the older children, on top of the free medications for 25 and under, now the child care option is very, very significant. And as you mentioned in the lead up to the question, for women primarily, who still tend to be the primary caregivers, this will allow them, if they so choose, to get back into the workforce even sooner.
Now, Of course, the critics will say, oh my goodness, the Liberals are out there spending money. The Conservative leader, Doug Ford, is determined that all the checks that you're writing as a government are going to bounce. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
How does it all balance out?
Well, I think that, first of all, for the third party, they described in the budget lockup in her interview, the leader of the third party described the spending as meager. So didn't share the concern expressed in your question. And for the PCs, we have yet to see a platform. They had a previous platform called the People's Guarantee under previous leader Patrick Brown that had in it many tax cuts and other program policy pieces that were going to be funded by a carbon tax. This current leadership group has said they're not going to do that anymore, so they've got a massive hole that they need to figure out how they're going to fill. So it's fair and predictable that people are going to criticize ours. I think that it's going to be up to them to explain to people, if they choose to, in the next 6 or 8 weeks, how they're going to meet whatever commitments they come forward with. And to this point, since they've ripped up the policy document that they had under Patrick Brown, they would expect to come out with something soon under Doug Ford, I would guess. And so it's really easy for them to criticize at this point, given they don't have a document of their own.
Okay. Now, as we go forward with the issues, one of the areas that was in there, and we had Minister Gravel in earlier, and he was talking about getting it right with the Ring of Fire. And there's a real contrast, again, to the PCs, because Doug Ford says he's just going to jump on the bulldozer and start making roads. Where do you see the contrasts in that from your perspective?
Well, I share frustration on the file. I have no problem acknowledging that. It's been some time, but I also capture that a little bit for people that are interested in this file and remind them that from the discovery of a mine site to the opening of a mine, it's always, or not always, but often 10 years or more until you are actually in a position to be establishing and begin creating a mine site through the construction and eventually the extraction of the minerals. So this, the Ring of Fire has garnered more attention than most mining finds, I would say. Understandable, given the significance of the find that's up there. This is a multi-generational find. It will have people employed for generations based on the findings that have come forward. And so I understand the importance of it to the economy of Northern Ontario. I understand the excitement of it. When I was doing or taking on the Ministry of Northern Development Mines for 6 to 8 months as minister, I was very involved in the file. I was thrilled when the Premier was up here back in August of 2017, where we announced we had an agreement and to begin road building hopefully 2019, and with the environmental assessment work ongoing. And so we are in, as you and I speak, April 2018, and so on that timetable we are within 8 or 9 months of the beginning of road construction. So I'm not really sure what it is that Mr. Ford thinks he's going to change in that regard.
Maybe he wants a job as a bulldozer operator.
Maybe he does.
On that, we've been talking budget with MPP Bill Mauro, in Politics 2.0, and thank you for coming in, Bill.
James, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.